Ignition sequence start. 3, 2, 1.
Range is hot. Lock and load. It's time for the Gun Rack with your hosts, Joey and Drew.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Gun Rack, Sonoran Desert Institute School of Firearms Technology's official podcast. I'm Josiah Upper, folks. Call me Joey, and with me we have one
Drew Poplin.
Drew Poplin, better known this time of year as Christmas Drew. Christmas Drew, how are we doing today?
Well, we're doing pretty holly. We're doing pretty jolly, I would venture to say.
Absolute ornaments on this guy, am I right?
Yeah, doing all right. Doing all right. I'm very excited to share this episode with y'all.
Yeah, I am too. And excited, of course, for the long Christmas weekend. For those of you that get to enjoy it. I don't, but I know most of you probably do. So for those of you out there, wherever you are, happen to be listening to this, some of you are probably traveling, have a wonderful Christmas, if we forget to say it towards the end. Holiday weekends are always great, and if you're in the Southeast like we are, it's going to be friggin' cold, which is as close as we get to a white Christmas, really. Drew, didn't you say at some point this weekend it's going to be 3 degrees where you're at?
Yes, sir.
And we're in the Southeast. 3 degrees for us is I didn't know we could go that low, I'll be honest with you. I don't remember the last time it hit the single digits down here.
It is funny seeing some of my coworkers who live in Florida thinking they were immune to what is coming. And that's
Is it
winter.
going that far south?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm gonna look that up now. But as we do that, let's check out something a little more relevant to what we're doing. And that is, of course, Drew's. Oh, we have some shout outs to do. Let's do those first.
Yeah. So I just wanted to shout out Owen Chambers and his friend Shelby. They actually reached out to us via email, and they have started a unofficial SDI Discord.
Really?
Yeah. And so he actually sent this to Walter Howard, who is Director of Military and Veteran Services here. He said, Walter, I had the pleasure of getting to listen to the SDI podcast today regarding stocking stuffers. And basically, he just reached out. He said he's been, telling the guys in the Discord to listen to the Gun Rack. So thank you so much. Hopefully one of these days we would be able to have them on the show and kind of talk to them.
That would be awesome. And for those of you who are here on the Gun Rack for the very first time because you got that link in the Discord, maybe don't be so gullible, all right? Maybe don't be so suggestive to other people's shout-outs. No, but we're glad you're here. And thank you guys for the shout-out. Without you guys, this podcast would have gone away a long time ago instead of having turned into this weekly kind of tradition here. So thank you guys. Best Christmas present I could ask for. Plugging the Gun Rack and having you wonderful people listen to our episodes, especially our Christmas Stocking Stuffers episode. That's good stuff. To put a pin on that weather conversation, I just have some locations on my weather app that I reference because they're different places where my family lives. We're going to use Christmas Day as a reference with the cold snap. All right. You know what? We're going to do Christmas Eve because Christmas Eve is even worse. So the Triad area in North Carolina, just smack in the middle of the state. Christmas Eve, there's a high of 28 and a low of 8. 8 disaster, right? Meanwhile, in Massachusetts, high of 25 and a low of 13. They're almost the same. That's Massachusetts. All right.
I want to implore all of our Southern listeners.
Yes.
We need to band together. I know it sounds rough. It sounds awful, and it's going to be awful. We're going to hate every second of this weather, but we cannot let the people from up north act like they're better than us because they can handle the cold.
Yeah. If there's anything that's more fundamental to the American identity than people from the Northeast being unbearably condescending, I don't know what it is. Wait, no, Cracker Barrel. And then people from the North being unbearably condescending. That's on my own experience. Almost all of my family comes from Massachusetts or Rhode Island. And all those who stay are utterly certain that they're better than all of us who moved to places where people are supposed to live. People
so
meant to live.
let's tough it out, and then we can always fall back on our southern humidity. So let's be strong, guys.
Buddy.
Let's do this.
We survive the tundra of the winter to live in the stew that is like July.
Just another day in paradise.
Yeah, buddy. Inglis, Florida, which is where I believe that's where we filmed our YouTube shoot this past year. It's going to be 45 with a low of 25, and that's in Florida. That's the apocalypse for those people.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to put on a hoodie. Probably not. They don't know what those are. They should.
Talking to my coworkers this past hurricane season, they were not worried at all.
Really?
They were just like, yeah, just another hurricane. So we got, and got some sandbags, got things boarded up. It'll kind of be fun, actually. But they're worried about this.
Yeah.
Let that sink in.
But how they sound like they get ready for hurricanes kind of sounds like what it's like to live in parts of the city in which I live. Yeah. Oh, and last but not least, in Tempe, Arizona, where, of course, the wonderful Sonoran Desert Institute is based, we are looking at Christmas Eve, a low of 42 and a high of 68. Why do we live where we do?
We definitely have a lot to reconsider.
We do. It being cold in the winter does not. The fact that we have access to water readily is not a good enough trade-off for the weather that we're getting on Christmas Eve. Yeah. I'd rather be dying of thirst and comfortably warm than what we're about to go through. I don't have a lot of hoodies. I'm not Drew. I don't have flannel everywhere on top of flannel. Okay. I have one pea coat that makes me look like a Union private. And I have 2 hoodies, one of which is a zip up and both of which are from SDI, which I only kind of work for these days. It's all confusing, but yeah, no, the weather is, I don't like what's coming is the point of what we're doing there.
I hear it's a dry cold out there.
Yeah. It has to be, except it's not even though, not where we're at. It's going to be, it was supposed to snow, but it's now too warm for that. So it's going to be about 40 degrees at the time of the precipitation and rainy. Like, come on, guys. That sucks.
There's
just absolutely brutal, man. No need for any of that mess. All right. Now that we have our feelings on that established, and I feel like that was important, let's get into some Drew's clues and talk to the good people about some obscure firearms.
Wonderful. So last week, the answer to Drew's clues was the Springfield trapdoor. Now this week, the clue actually is going to be coming mainly directly from the manufacturer's website. And
nice.
I've removed the obvious telltale clues. And then the last clue is from TrueWestMagazine.com's blog article, Top 12 Guns That Tamed the West.
Excellent.
So, arguably the most famous single-shot rifle of the American West, this firearm's falling block rifle story began in 1848 when its inventor patented his first breech-loading rifle and carbine design using paper cartridges ignited by a separate musket cap. Throughout the 1850s and 1860s, this brand's breech-loading rifle became popular with military and civilian users alike. Goes on, the 1874 model was introduced as the first purpose-built rifle to house the new breed of powerful metallic cartridges. Quickly showed itself as being a rugged and reliable rifle, perfectly suited to the rigors of the frontier. This reputation led to the nickname and trademark of Old Reliable. And to the Indian warrior, this firearm was known as shoots far or shoot today, kill tomorrow. What firearm am I talking about?
Those are some really good clues.
Thank you. I wish I could take credit for it, but
Yeah, I know. That's why I complimented it, because I knew I couldn't trace back to you. Yeah, you got to be careful. This kind of thing. Don't want to let Drew get too uppity.
If you think you know the answer to this week's Drew's Clues, please feel free. Leave a comment on when we post this on YouTube, our audiogram on YouTube. Leave a comment underneath that, or reach out to us through email. Send an email to marketing@sdi.edu. Just put the subject head something or another about Drew's Clues answer and let us know. And if you answer correctly, we'll send you some swag.
We will indeed. Well, Drew will. I don't care about you enough to make that kind of investment of my time. And they got rid of my old email account, and it's a lot harder for me. But Drew will do that in good time when he feels like it. All right, folks. Living the spirit of Goblin Mode each year. You know what I saw, actually? We're going to plug SDI here in a second. But you know what I saw for the very first time this year?
What?
The Muppet Christmas Carol. It's really good.
You had never seen it?
I had never seen it. It's young. Well, young is relative. Michael Caine is 3,000 years old. But he looks like he's, he looks like he's 50 for the first time instead of for the 31st time. It's quite good. This is very cute. I'd never seen it before. Didn't know it was a thing. My wife just whipped it out. It's great. I also saw, conversely, a little known David Harbour film in theaters called Violent Night. Have you seen the trailer for this thing?
I think so. Is that where there's some guys break into a house and so Santa Claus comes in and kicks butt?
David Harbour is Santa Claus, and he's like Bruce Willis in Die Hard, grumpy Santa Claus. And there's some shenanigans that I'm gonna try not to spoil anything, but that people break into the house, Nakatomi Tower style. People are being held hostage, and Santa has to go fight this thing. All these bad guys by himself with the help of a Home Alone Macaulay Culkin type kid. It's really good. A little bit of a call out to both Die Hard and Home Alone. Very funny. And David Harbour is, just a joy.
Can you say whether or not elves or reindeer get involved?
I will say reindeer are present. At one point, there's a complaint about them constantly leaving droppings places. There are no elves involved in the creation of this film. I feel like I can say that without it being a spoiler. Yeah. So you never know, right? Sometimes.
It sounds like they should have called this movie Missed Opportunity, if you're asking me.
It's kind of like Fat Man. Did you see that one? So it's Mel Gibson, and this one's older, so I feel less obligated to tiptoe around it. But without spoiling too much, Mel Gibson is Santa Claus, and there is a disgruntled, naughty child who comes out John Wick style to attack him in the North Pole, and it's a gun battle. It's the best B movie I've ever seen. you kind of forget, because Mel Gibson was disgraced for being a super racist, that he's really, really good. So, the work that he does get, he's just freaking lights out in. So, Fat Man, you can tolerate Mel Gibson's tomfoolery. It is a movie, dude. It is an incredible film.
I will add that to my list. It sounds incredible. I'm glad you liked Muppet Christmas Carol. That's probably my favorite version of the story.
It's very cute. I have to wrangle with the fact that his competition is a Patrick Stewart Christmas Carol, and it feels wrong somehow to not like back that, even though it's more like that's more of a boring take on it. It's more classical, which is kind of what you expect from Captain Picard. But they both have their place. I'm definitely going to watch one each year.
Yeah, it easily clears that Jim Carrey animated one, though. I think it was Robert Zemeckis.
This is the first I'm hearing of that. What are you talking about?
Oh my. Okay, so if you've never heard of this, look up the images. It's like this uncanny valley depiction of Scrooge, and it will be nightmares.
Ooh. Is it like Polar Express style?
Yes, exactly like that.
You remember that?
I try not to.
I don't know who thought that made any sense. It's the only thing Tom Hanks has ever been in, or I'm like, not worth it. Too much. But you know what that actually reminds me of? Sonoran Desert Institute. For those of you who don't know too much about our school, the very reason we get the opportunity to sit here and talk with you guys today. Sonoran Desert Institute is an online school accredited by the Distance Education Accrediting Commission. Every single time we flub that. And they specialize in two things. One is drones, and one is, of course, firearms technology. If you're interested in any of this, hop on to sdi.edu. You can see our academic programs. You can see our course catalog. There's so much cool stuff there for you to check out. Check us out at sdi.edu. That might, I think, like, we have a good admissions team, and people ask all sorts of different questions. So there and within our admissions team, there's, unique interactions abound. But I do think I can say pretty comfortably that is the first time SDI has been compared to a Muppet Christmas Carol.
Shan't be the last.
I think that's a fair guess. It will not be the last. Mark our words. We have a lot of time and nothing but a burning desire to put that into this Sonoran Desert zeitgeist. So, but we have something. All joking aside, we have a really cool episode for you guys today. Drew here did an interview with SDI graduate Larry Summons Jr., who's the owner of Range 144-1. 1441. Sorry, I misread our show notes here. This was recorded a little bit ago, and it's really cool. What was your interaction with him like, Drew?
Dude, he's such an awesome guy to talk to. Like, I'm not even fronting.
Yeah.
I probably could have talked to him for another hour or two. He is based out of Jacksonville, Florida. And
awesome. Love it.
He's just so easy to talk to, such a kind man, and it's really fun, too. I think that'll come out in the conversation. Without any further ado,
yes,
let's check it out.
Let's get right into it.
So, Mr. Larry, first questions first. How was your Thanksgiving?
It went well. I had the in-laws here. So they came with their dishes. It was kind of like a potluck type thing. Everybody brought their specialties, and we ate, we laughed, we enjoyed each other's company, and we here didn't have to clean. So
nice. That sounds like the best possible Thanksgiving. You get like all the positives without the drawback of having to worry about the cleanup.
Right. My wife was like, we're probably going to do this from now on. And I said,
Mhm.
yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And what's your food specialty?
So I make macaroni and cheese, passed down from generation after generation. Yeah, so I make mac and cheese from scratch, and also I perfected my lemonade this year. So I did a ginger lemonade.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it was a hit. It was a hit. So much so I made regular lemonade just in case the ginger didn't go so well. But everybody
Uh-huh.
loved the ginger, and I was like, I can change the regular to ginger.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to ask you more about that.
Absolutely,
That
definitely.
sounds delicious. So, with it being sort of the holidays and everything, Thanksgiving, Christmas, just that general, month, 2 month period of time, it's a period of reflection for a lot of people, a period of, being thankful for, what's come through the year, or being thankful that you made it through the year.
Mhm.
I have to ask, is there anything this year that you were particularly thankful for?
Absolutely, absolutely. And what immediately comes to mind is something I posted on my Facebook the other day. I'm grateful for all the closed doors. I'm grateful
Mm,
for the unsuccessful interviews. I'm grateful for all the plans that didn't work my way because they all led me here.
mhm,
And this is something that I've wanted to do for many, many years. I mean, going back to me being in middle school, this was a dream of mine to be able to work in the firearms industry and to help others.
mhm.
Even at a young age, I was pretty drawn to the mechanics of firearms, and my dad, he had a bunch of firearms. So I was exposed to them, but also learning the safety, the safety portion of them. But now I even remember, being young and taking my dad's old pellet rifle apart. I thought I could fix it, and parts just flew out everywhere,
Oh no.
and I couldn't put it back together. So I just stuffed them in there and screwed it back together. It
Uh,
wasn't until like some years later where he was like, "Hey, I found out what you did." I was like, "Oh." So actually, and from there, man, and with this course, I've been praying that I get the opportunity to either build him something or find him a lever action 30
mm,
30. I know he wants. Yeah.
ooh, yeah, yeah. So you inadvertently answered my next question. So awesome job. We're already off to a great start. So you said you sort of grew up, being exposed to firearms. Your father had firearms and you were interested in the mechanical portion. If I'm not mistaken, on your website, it says you went to high school in Maryland.
I did. Baltimore, Maryland. Yeah.
Nice, nice. Okay. I'm not sure of the timeline, but I know you ended up serving in the military.
We're actually done at the same time. I joined the Army Reserves when I was a month after I turned 17, and I was still in the 11th grade.
Oh, nice. Okay. So was that, when you were in high school, you were pretty sure that, okay, the military is something that I would want to be involved with. Where did that come from? Is it something that maybe it was in your family or just a desire in your heart?
Yeah, so I believe the Lord placed that desire in my heart at a young age, and I come from a family of individuals who served. My grandfather's father joined the army; he served in the army. My grandfather served during Korea. My father served during Vietnam, and here I am.
Hmm.
So I've come from a long line of soldiers. So it was already there. But in middle school, I definitely knew, kind of looking back at some of my old writings, even going into the ninth grade, I was already sure, hey, I'm going to join the army. I'm going to go in the infantry. I felt like, that's where I wanted to go. But, I ended up going a different direction, but it all led me here. Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, so those things were instilled in my heart at an early age. So
Mm.
yeah. Mhm.
And how long were you in the Army Reserve for?
So I served for 15 years, 9 months, and 23 days.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate that so much. So, one thing I have to commend you on, because I like doing my research anytime I try to,
All right.
have these conversations with people. So, I have to commend you because on your website, you had, your About Us page.
Mhm.
And you kind of tracked through like all the different stages, which one makes my job a lot easier. So thank you for that. But two, I think it's interesting. I love hearing people's stories. I know I'm not the only one. And I think it's interesting to be able to look at that and to be able to chart the steps. And one thing you talk a lot about is how opening this range, is it 144-1 or 144-1? How do you say it?
So we range 1441.
1441.
But
Gotcha.
it's positioned in a way to reference the Psalm, David, chapter 144, verse 1.
I was going to ask you about that. And now you're a business owner, man.
Right.
You had sort of given up on that dream, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I had in my mind, my plan was, I was able to join, the Army and serve. And the reasons why, kind of going back to your question earlier, the reasons why it's in my heart or mind to serve is I remember sitting in the interview to become a state trooper. That was another dream I had. And he asked me why I wanted to be a state trooper. And my response was that I wanted to help people who didn't know they needed help. I mean, so I think that's always been a desire, a passion of mine to assist people who may not know they need assistance, be it, sharing a word or, correcting somebody's grip or letting them know, hey, your sight is low or, this screw is boogered. Let's get that out, just helping individuals,
So how long had you had the specific dream about opening range?
That's actually not sure. I'm not sure because, like I said, it was never like you have a realistic goal or a realistic dream, and then you got something, you sit down like, man, that'd be nice. Oh well,
sure.
You just But so I think that was probably my oh well dream. My wife, she showed me the text message, but one day I was like, hey, I want to open up a range, and hey, we got one life. I might as well try it. But I had forgotten that I said it, forgotten all about it, whatever. But it wasn't until we got to premarital questions before we got married and we got to dreams and that's, what's your partner's dream? And I was able to recite hers because I knew it, learned her. I learned her. I told her dream with such certainty. I was like, oh, I know what this is.
I got this on lock, man.
Right. Yeah. Can't get it. I was ready for that one. But it came her turn to answer. And I remember saying in my mind, like, oh, this is going to be crazy because I don't have a dream. So what is she going to come up with? And she was like, I know you have a dream to open up a ranch. And I was like, no, I don't, And then I thought about it and I was like, oh, I do. And man, from there, just all of these ideas of a place where people could go to train as they would fight, and not necessarily just kind of going out and vigilante, but in this day and age, to believe that things are all well and good, we'd be fooling ourselves, it is a very real thing, and I love people. I have a heart for people, and it really bothers me, the heartlessness that's out there. So it's a desire of mine for individuals to be, prepared to defend themselves and those who they love. That's a huge thing. And prayerfully, they won't need it. But, it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it.
Exactly. And that kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier about like your desire to want to help people that maybe don't even necessarily know they need help.
Absolutely.
So you had all these ideas in your head. Like once you kind of had that breakthrough where you're like, yeah, this is a dream of mine. And the ideas started coming. Do you remember at least maybe like what year it was when you decided I'm going to like actively pursue this? Or did it just kind of fall into place?
So it was probably that same year. So that'd be about 2020.
Okay.
I was working for Flexi, Federal Law Enforcement Training Center up in Glencoe. That's actually what brought me here to Jacksonville.
Gotcha.
I was in Alabama, Montgomery, Alabama. I had just came off my recruiting duty, in 2019. So I took some time, sat at home, and I was like, yeah, no, I can't do this no more. So got the job, moved here to Jacksonville, and I was working there. It was pretty much the same thing I had done for the Army, just an administrative role. And, because I've done it for so long, I was really good at it, but I wasn't fulfilled by it. You know what I mean? Like I could do it. I could do it all day long, eyes closed, back and forth, but it wasn't, it didn't sit right. I wasn't settled. And it was a certain point where I was like, okay, it's time to go. And I started kind of looking around, then go premarital questions. And from there, 2020, it's about when I started looking of how to get this thing going. And I don't remember the exact day, but that's how I came across SDI.
Cool. So when you were creating, this business, I just want to bring this up because, we've been talking a lot about dreams, but I don't want people to be mistaken. You were very meticulous with your preparation, or at least from what I read on your website.
Oh, absolutely. And just like with joining the Army, and just like becoming a state trooper or pretty much anything, having to do your homework beforehand to know exactly what you're getting into and the steps that you need to take to be successful and getting to where it is that you want to get. I don't believe in just kind of spitting in the wind and kind of seeing where it lands. You have to be really intentional about your direction, and I feel like once you're given a purpose, just like everything's pretty much just a military kind of situation with me. Once you're given a mission, you need to do recon, so getting into a new industry is a new mission for me. So it's doing recon and finding out exactly how to go about getting into this industry the best way and the most sure way, and not in a way that I guess that everybody else is taking, because everybody not going in the same direction. You know what I mean? And I just believe that as you kind of do your own research and homework, you find out who you are and where you fit in there. But yes, you have to be extremely intentional about what you do.
And was that an attitude that you felt like you carried over also while you were at SDI doing your studies?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And even more so, because at that point, I started in April of this year, and then my kids came down. So there was 4 kids in the house, so 6 people total in the house, through the summer. So they came down in June, left in August. And then, kind of from there, you got the rest of your studies now having to deal with the dynamics of family life, and work life, and then school life, and then hobbies and friends. I mean, it's having to, like you say, kind of be intentional and definitely keeping in mind of having a plan and how to execute that plan.
So as you were setting out on this journey, on this path, you took the course with USCCA. You filed your business, got your FFL, and then you got gunsmithing knowledge from SDI. So now you can train, sell, and even do gunsmithing work for your client.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I do now.
Yeah. So I imagine you're very, very busy.
And plus I work at the range, work at the end of the range.
So when you had your dream of operating this range, was it always part of that dream to have a business that was so all-encompassing? Or was that something where you're like, hey, you know what? I'm training people, might as well, because I'm training them, we'll have that knowledge together of like what they're comfortable with. So maybe I could sell them firearms too. Well, if I'm selling them firearms, it'd be also great to learn how to gun them.
Absolutely, and that was the actual plan. It's pretty much you hit it on the head. My plan was to open up the range and have a place where people could shoot, and I would be an instructor. I'm also a certified range safety officer with USCCA and the NRA, so being able to run the range, right? And then later on, the firearm sales was going to come, and then after that, gunsmithing, and then after that, reloading. So everything was going to have this progressive kind of one-stop shop where individuals would be able to come to a range and have pretty much everything taken care of. Because as a firearm owner and a avid shooter myself, I would like somewhere where I can go, where I can get to know those people, and when you have a place where you can trust, you're willing to kind of go out of your way to get there because the quality of work that you're getting when you get there.
Gotcha. Now, what is, just because I'm not super familiar with the Jacksonville area, are most people down there, you feel like grew up with firearms, have a general knowledge, even if maybe not training, or is it something where like, okay, we're starting from scratch, sort of at a very base level?
Well, from my experience living here since March of 2020, it's definitely mixed. You've got a large number of individuals who are very familiar with firearms. They've been around firearms for their entire lives. Some of them have grown up in the maybe the more rural parts of the city or the county, and they're familiar with firearms. They go hunting. They'll come to the range. Then you have some individuals here who have gotten a firearm and they just like going to the range and shooting, but they're not necessarily that knowledgeable, on the tactical side of it. They just know if they squeeze the trigger, it's going to make a loud noise. And as long as they point in a general direction, so you got a lot of those, a lot of first time firearm owners. And they are, like we talked about earlier, they're kind of seeing what's going on and they're wanting to be prepared, but they're also really eager to learn. And those are, my favorite. Those are my favorite. But even with the kind of the other two, it's definitely good to have those interactions and experiences because you go back to, people not knowing that they need help sometimes, being able to kind of come in as an instructor and say, hey, change your grip a little bit or, try to stand here, or even with the avid firearm owners, they're knowing what they want to do and they'll say, hey, I'm looking for a particular firearm. I'm looking to do this and that with it. So being able to have that knowledge and say, okay, well, here's a platform and here's another platform. These are the pros and cons. This is what I think. Now, what do you want to do with that?
Yeah. So one of the things that you mentioned that when you train, you said on your website, we believe slow is smooth and smooth is safe. Could you just go a little bit more into your philosophy when it comes to training someone or instructing them?
So my biggest philosophy is intentionality. And I'll go through everything with my students. Typically, when I'm at the range, I'll pick firearms that I know we have a few of. Like, for example, we have about 3 Glock 19s or 2 charged G2Cs. So I'll walk them through everything so they can see exactly how my hands are placed, exactly what I'm doing at all times so they can mirror that. And from there, I'll stop and allow them to have the lesson on their own, where I'll stand by, and kind of gently, walk them through if they get kind of stuck at any point, but intentionality, in order to be effective and efficient, you have to be slow, I believe. And with that is just taking your time and building that muscle memory. I'm huge on muscle memory, creating those pathways in our brains so that when we go to do something, I mean, a lot of us firearm owners, we take it for granted, we'll be at the range and, I had a guy that he was trying to show a young lady, this new firearm owner. Yeah, you just lock the slide like this. You just pick it up, lock the slide here. And he was just doing it really fast. And I was like, he was like, it looks like magic, how come when I pull it back, it don't lock like yours? Because they don't see the little bit of thumb twitch that he's making to push the slot lock up.
Yeah.
They don't see it, because he's doing it so quickly, but just going slow and showing everybody, step by step, moving your thumb up and wiggling the slot lock and saying, here it is. It's on the spring, it goes up and down. So that's the slow portion. And then it being smooth, that smooth action of being able to do it. So that once they develop those pathways in their brain, they're pretty much safe if they're learning the safe way, And like I tell my boys, there's a saying that practice makes perfect. And I'm like, just like my lacrosse coach, perfect practice makes perfect.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
You could be practicing the wrong thing.
Golly, I can't tell you how many times I heard that expression growing up. So you played lacrosse?
Yes, I played lacrosse 10th, 11th, and kind of 12th grade. I was already in the Army, so I didn't want to get hurt because I didn't want to miss out on my training. Yeah. But after my deployment to Iraq, I came back every year that I was in Maryland, came back to train brand new players on how, yeah. So I started coaching. I coached a little bit when I was in Alabama as well, a lacrosse league there.
Yeah. So you've been coaching and instructing for a whole lot of your
long time.
life. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. Like being able to connect those two. So let's kind of pivot a little bit more specifically to like your time at SDI.
Okay.
Do you remember when you enrolled?
I know usually I know I got in on like the last day or the day before the last day that you could.
Oh.
Like, so when I finally, decided to pull the trigger, yeah, it was really close to the kind of enrollment date. And I guess when I have something in my mind that I want to do, I'm just like, hey, let's get it done. So I don't know what would have happened had I had to wait. But yeah, definitely. And I don't remember exactly the exact time, but one thing that really impressed me was how helpful the staff was to ensure that my things got done. Like, I really appreciated that. They kind of stayed on top of me to ensure that I had my, FAFSA filled out and everything was correct. They reached out to me, if I had any questions or anything, they were right there to answer. And then Justine Buchlander.
Yes. Yeah, I do know Justine.
Yeah, she helped me out. And then Felipe.
Cool. So when you got to SDI and you maybe just before you started classes or like as you were starting, I know it's very common whenever you go into a new school or a new situation like that, you kind of have expectations on how you think you'll go or like how you think you'll do or everything like that. Were there any expectations that you had going into it? And if so, were they confirmed or subverted at all?
I can't say I've through my secondary education career, I don't think grades have been the issue. My issue has always been going to an institution of higher learning, but it being expected to almost perform as if you're in grade school, where they tell you exactly how they want things. And being a professional, being, especially when you deal with something like the military, it's like, hey, we're dealing with very important things, even going up to life itself, and it's like, hey, what's expected of you, your parameters, do it, but it was almost like an institution of higher learning. They're like, hey, write about this and do it like this. And it's like, well, all I'm doing is regurgitating things or giving you what somebody else said. And I'm not necessarily using my brain to grasp the concept of what we're talking about. And then being able to put that into words to explain to somebody that I do understand the concept and I can perform, But so it was kind of like that. But I guess my expectation, but oh my goodness, just a breath of fresh air. Oh my goodness. When I got to SDI, it was like being able to explain things, but like nobody was like beating you over the head, like, you didn't do it this way. It was like, hey, it's all understood. We're all learning. We kind of understand what we're talking about. We're going over the lessons. We're helping each other out. And that's where I really, really enjoy taking classes and being able to talk to others like me, It was like we all understood that, hey, we're not wearing a suit and tie. And we're not trying to impress anybody. We just want to make sure that we've got this concept down, that we can do this safely and effectively and efficiently and provide a good service for our customers. That was a huge thing for me and would continue to egg me on or push me on, even in those days where it got really hard, just able to be myself and be in school and learn. So it was definitely really great. And I commend you guys on the equipment that you said. I appreciate the equipment that's sent because number one, I didn't have it. So I appreciate what gets sent to me to assist me in my job. And as I learn on, even if it's cheap material, when you learn on it, you can go and buy something expensive, but you learn how to do it safely and effectively and efficiently on something else. And so what if that burns out? Hey, you used it. Now go get something else so you can continue to work. But yeah, so that was my rant about that.
Yeah. I'm glad that you had a really positive experience with that as well. What would you say is the biggest lesson you learned while you were at SDI, or maybe relearned or like reaffirmed?
So, what came to my mind is if you're full of yourself, you can't digest new information. So just being humble, humbling yourself enough to be like, okay, in the MSR program or MSR course, all right, I know, from being in the Army, you kind of know this, you're not, but at the same time, being able to humble yourself to learn, like, okay, so this is actually what it's called. And this is, this is, I didn't even know that was there,
Yeah.
So, what is this thing? This thing's been there the whole time. But so
Yeah.
it's just being able to humble yourself, to be able to get through the program, to learn something new.
Cool. We're gonna start kind of wrapping up some of the questions and everything. Okay. So with all the growth that has gone on for you, for your business, tell me what's next on the horizon for your business.
I mean, I'm now, I don't want to say, I'm not dreaming, I still, still pray about it. And I'm still, even with learning about, there's actually a range that's going to be open here in Jacksonville that looks almost like my business plan. So that hit me in the stomach, gut punch, got me sad a bit. And I was like, okay, but I told my wife, I was like, even though, they're still building, I'm still going to be faithful and I'm still going to keep moving forward with it, but with that, I think with me is just being present, being present where my business is right now, providing instruction to the customers that I see, providing gunsmithing services. And as I become more confident, adding more services to that. And right now, I'm talking to my GM at my job. And so I think I've worked it out to be a subcontractor.
Nice.
So talk to him, and at first they were just using the gunsmithing room for like storage, trash, whatever. And they have a lathe in there. They've got a milling machine. They've got a little sandblast. Man, they have everything you need to get started as a gunsmith. I walked in there, and from the course, I was like, everything's in here.
What you guys doing? You got all this awesome stuff.
They got stuff on the lathe, like soda cans. I'm like, come on, man. but yeah, so I think that's next. Just kind of taking it day by day. And probably the next thing is just emptying out that room and just throwing everything away and starting off fresh.
Yeah.
But prayerfully, that's going to be the next thing, is being able to get that in order so that we can provide those services to customers and just growing from there. Being able to, then say, hey, I am an independent gunsmith, right? And I plan on, I'll run the range for them, but I'll be a gunsmith for me. And just being able to provide that, and then updating my business plan, changing it, because it's actually funny. Because about maybe some weeks ago, I told my wife, I was like, hey, I'm going to change my business plan because I want to do an indoor-outdoor range now. Part indoor, and then have an outdoor long range for, serious shooters, But I found, and, she knew already, but I found that, beginners, even, some of us, we like going out and shooting in the woods because there's nobody, with a whole bunch of rules. But it gets cold. It gets rainy, it gets hot. It gets a bunch of mosquitoes. You fight them, get in your eye. You try to shoot. But yeah, so just being able to give people those options, and I think that is what we don't have a lot of now. It's shifted my business plan, and you don't have, you have indoor or outdoor, but you don't have an indoor-outdoor. Boom.
Yeah. I like that. I think that'd be dope, especially in Jacksonville. Like right. That's a smart idea to have both options, because sometimes it's really nice outside and you like being out there.
Shoot outside. Plus, you want to put yourself in those, it's not going to be AC. If you get into a shoot situation, then you're not going to have AC, So,
Absolutely. What would you say to someone who is apprehensive about following or chasing their dream? Or, for you said this business was sort of that almost like pie in the sky, like, oh, that'd be nice. Anyway,
right.
What would you say to someone that was sort of in that same spot where they're like, oh, well, what I would really love to do is this, but it's not going to happen?
I mean, if they were in a position, to go to school, especially to chase their dreams, what's stopping you? Is what you're doing already making you happy? Is it fulfilling you? It's like, I mean, I don't want people to take it the wrong way, but Einstein, or whoever, because they say Einstein didn't say it, but whoever said it, insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results. If you continue to do the same thing, you're going to get the same results, and if what you're doing is making you unhappy, then continuing to do it is going to make you unhappy, So, what's stopping you? What's stopping you from at least exploring your dream? At least, like we talked about earlier, at least doing some recon in your dream, finding out exactly what it would take to get into that industry or go into that direction.
Yeah. And what would you say to someone who was considering attending SDI?
Go for it.
Go for it.
Definitely. Don't delay. I'm out there.
Yeah.
I'm making money.
Yeah.
Clients. Well, you might want to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's a worthwhile program. Even if you're a professional, you have a family, if you have other things that you have going on, other responsibilities, it fits into your schedule. Being able to have particular days when you go on, you don't have to go on there every single day. Or I'll say, hey, you got to get Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday. It works. It can work for a working man or woman.
Nice. One person that kept popping up throughout your story on your website was your wife, Candace. How much has she helped you with pursuing this?
Tremendously, man. When I came to her about resigning from my government position, I had been with the government for, 14, 15 years. And I came to her and I was like, hey, I feel like the Lord's leading me in a different direction. I think I'm going to resign and pursue. She didn't understand, but she was supportive. And through those months of trying to get the business going, up and going, the research, it was tough, but she stayed consistent. She stayed behind me. She stayed supporting me. She stayed encouraging me. So through this whole thing, she's been instrumental, and she's been extremely instrumental, even days where I'm up, or some days where I was up, 11 o'clock at night, still trying to, do assignments because, work or family or whatever, just her patience. She sacrificed a lot, for me to be here and to do this. So she's been extremely instrumental.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you got yourself an awesome partner, and I'm so happy for you. How long have you two been married?
A year.
A year.
Yeah,
Nice.
We wasn't even married when I.
Yeah.
Yeah, when this all started, we weren't married. So just even before, walking down the aisle, she knew I was broke. I ain't had no job.
Yeah. And that's how you got you got your ride and die,
I ride and die, absolutely. But yeah, she thought it was going to take some years, but I told her, I was like, when the Lord has something going in my life, it's going to happen. So, but I thank him for that.
Yeah.
If it would have took a while, man, we might not be talking.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she's been extremely instrumental. So yeah, she deserves the acknowledgement, of what she did to contribute to being here.
Yeah. Cool deal. Listen, Larry, dude, it was so awesome getting to talk to you. Thank you so much for taking the time, for being candid, just being awesome to talk to. No, this was just fun. Just felt like talking. So I appreciate that.
Definitely, man. I really appreciate you reaching out, man.
All right, everyone. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I know Drew had an amazing time talking with Larry. And I hope this gives you a better picture of what SDI is like. Also, I'm going to go ahead and do this now. We normally wait a little bit till after Tales from the Range. But if you think this kind of info is helpful, if you're trying to learn more about this school and you're trying to figure out what's going to work best for you, experiences from our students are there's good. do so much more for you than anything we ever could, right? So if you're curious about this, hop on to sdi.edu. If you hit the news tab and you see grad features, that's stories that we've been given permission to share, interviews, that kind of thing, from some wonderful people at that have attended Sonoran Desert Institute. So feel free to hop on to sdi.edu, news tab, grad features, and read away. Now, it's time for some tales. Tales from the Range. I think that's a public domain song, but I screw up the melody a little bit just in case. But Drew, what do we have today?
So this comes to us from Reddit, and this is by user Deshond. I'm not entirely sure.
Dashand.
Like
I think that's actually it.
Really?
I think so.
Oh,
This is
wow.
everyone's favorite German range tailor.
Yes.
Das
Yeah.
Hand.
Yeah. And they say, I don't have a horror story, but how about a little self-deprecation?
Okay.
My very first time shooting, my friend took me to an indoor pistol range. I obeyed all rules. Okay technique, no stupid mistakes, etc. My buddy felt that I could handle a rifle, so off to a rifle range we go. And we were asking about beginner rifles when the counter guide noticed me eyeing the AR-15. He mentions how easy it is to shoot, just like a .22 long rifle, only louder, he said. I still had an excellent time. So the next day, I was looking at online reviews of the rifle range, and the newest review was an angry rant about, quote, this big old guy who was obviously a newbie, yet they gave him an AR and sent him on his way. About that time, I was thinking, hey, this sounds kind of familiar. Then the review
It sounds kind of like you, yes.
He was popping off rounds every few seconds, could hit the broadside of a barn, muzzle sweeping, bad trigger discipline, etc., etc., etc. It went on like this for a while. The whole time I was feeling worse and worse about myself. Then I finally noticed the timestamp at the end of the review, and it was exactly a year old to the day. So, just like most of my range time that day, quote, missed it by that much.
Wow. Wow.
That's a
Good
horror.
stuff.
Yeah, I have, especially with the internet where it is now, and stuff like TikTok and YouTube and Instagram being so big. I am terrified sometimes of going out anywhere, accidentally doing something stupid, and scrolling on my feed later that evening, and then all of a sudden seeing my failure exposed before millions. So,
Dude, yeah, no, I've been there too, because I do a lot of firearms industry writing. And my first one back with one of my favorite clients, the first comment that was like, that made its way through the firewall was, wow, when did this site merge with The Onion?
oh my gosh, no way.
That's pretty hurtful. I've been writing gun stuff for 7 years. That is a first for me.
Oh,
That is a very unique and hurtful way to flame someone.
oh my goodness.
I know. Talk about goblin mode.
Hey, you've made it this far. You've written many more articles. I'd say,
Yeah.
I think you're a good writer.
I appreciate that. Folks, that is the Gun Wreck. We will see you again after the holiday weekend, I think, right? And for now, have fun out there. If you get a chance to shoot this weekend, awesome. You're going to be cold. That's fine. Stay safe out there. We will see you at the range.
Sonoran Desert Institute is an online school accredited by the DEAC. It is headquartered at 1555 West University Drive in Tempe, Arizona. For more information about how you can craft your firearms future, visit sdi.edu.